Hello everyone and welcome to the No Pro Sports Podcast. I'm Red the Ripper. I'm joined by Hoser the Closer. Today we're going to be talking about the 2019 Chicago Bears and what is wrong with them. So 2019 was a pretty disappointing season for Chicago. They ended up finishing 8-8 and third in the NFC North as opposed to their 2018 where they finished with a 12-4 record and won the NFC North. Today we're going to talk about a couple of reasons why we think this be the cause for the regression. And it always starts with the quarterback, right, Hoser? So,
absolutely.
Mitch Trubisky, what are your thoughts on him?
I see some good things in Mitch, but at the end of the day, I see a lot of bad fundamentals. I see the inability to read a defense prior to the snap and decipher what's going to happen. It looks like he's just a little wounded deer in headlights, and it's just one of those things to where you can definitely see that he's not comfortable back there. And he stares his receivers down. He doesn't go through his progression. His first option, he usually throws it to, and the defenses know these things.
Well, do you think maybe is that from lack of experience? As far as I know, he just completed his third season in the NFL, but I know prior to that in college he only started 9 games. Do you think that's contributing to this as well?
Oh no, absolutely. I definitely do feel that way, that when we drafted him, we didn't take into consideration those things. UNC is not a very big football program to begin with, so you're not going to expect a polished NFL-ready quarterback, so it's kind of tough.
Well, I will say, after 3 seasons, I mean, he really has not seemed to come into his own. Right? I mean, last year, what was his stats last year? How did he do paper?
Yeah, no, absolutely. In 2019, he had a completion rating of 63.2%, quarterback rating of 40.6.
Oof, that's ugly.
That's very good there. And he finished with 17 touchdowns. So considering they passed the ball 59% of the time, that's a very low number. He ended up with 10 interceptions, which doesn't seem like a lot, but considering he has 17 touchdowns, that definitely is a lot. And the average drive was about 27.2 yards, which ranked 28th in the NFL.
Okay, so 27.2 yards a drive? I mean, is that all the quarterback's fault? I mean, is maybe some play calling going on there that might be contributing to that?
That's true, too. You know, that's the next point. Matt Nagy, what has he really done? We brought him in from Kansas City to be this offensive guru, and we're over here sitting 28th in the league in third down conversions. So what does that say about the offensive guru?
It doesn't say a whole lot, in my opinion. I mean, when you're passing the ball 60% of the time, you've only thrown 17 touchdowns. You know, for Mitch's point, that's pretty bad. I mean, is Nagy not calling the right plays at the right time? I mean, on fourth down, what is the third down percentage again?
The 35.6% third down conversion.
So percentage. Almost 1 out of every 3. You're only converting 1 out of every 3 times you get a third down. I mean, that's
terrible.
That's a reason for concern. Maybe is it the lack of creative play calling?
Yeah, no, I think it's the lack of balance of pass-run ratio for the most part. He passes the ball 59.5% of the time. He runs it 40.5%. So there should be definitely reversed. I believe since Mitch is a young quarterback that's inexperienced, they should flip those numbers around. They should be running the ball closer to 60% and passing 40%.
Well, I mean, if they're only running 40% of the time, do you think, and maybe this is another point we need to make here, is the quality of the offensive line? I mean, if you're not converting, you're not running. How many times was Mitch sacked last year? Wasn't he sacked like 35 times or something like that? I think it was 38.
He actually finished the season with 45 sacks total. The Bears' offensive line gave up. 45 sacks. It's kind of hard for anybody to do anything under those circumstances.
Yeah, sure. I think they only averaged like 2.3 seconds in order to before the pressure was on him. So I mean, is it really Mitch's fault Is it the play calling that he's not calling the right plays against the defense that's coming at him?
Exactly.
Or is it the quality of the offensive line? I personally think the quality of the offensive line is something that needs to be identified here, because they have not done a very good job at bringing in a lot of talent there.
Absolutely.
I know that they've had some injuries and stuff like that, but I just don't know if they have the pieces in place that are going to allow these other players to make the plays that they need to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When your offensive line ends up ranking 12th worst in the amount of sacks allowed in the league at 2.8 sacks, that's kind of hard for anyone to make any moves out there. I can't see Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson doing very much else behind that. I mean, I know they're mobile, but it's very hard. With 2 seconds, you're pretty much in crisis, so it definitely is tough. But 25th in the league ranked offensive line isn't going to create a lot of offense for sure.
So, I mean, to kind of sum it up, we've identified Mitch Trubisky, he's underperforming. The play calling's underperforming. The offensive line's underperforming. What is a good way to kind of fix this? Do you think this is something that can be fixed relatively quickly in the draft or in free agency? Is this something they need another quarterback? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I definitely think Mitch Trubisky should be on a very short leash, especially seeing what Ryan Tannehill was able to do with the Tennessee Titans this year. He was able to step in there. We need to get an experienced veteran quarterback that's still able to take the reins and just go in there and be productive and, really move the chains. And ultimately, it's going to save Matt Nagy's job, because he's going down with the sinking ship. So Matt Nagy needs to really think about job security himself and Ryan Pace. So, it's going to be a now or never year for Mitch for sure.
Well, what I personally think that for the Bears right now, I mean, they have so much invested in that defense. They have a lot of key pieces still there. I really think they're just one good quarterback away. I mean, I hate to put all the blame on Mitch, especially when you look at some of the other factors like Nagy and the offensive line. But I think if you put a guy like Phillip Rivers, for instance, you sign him to a one-year contract, I think they become a contender overnight. I really do. And, one of the things is when you're looking at Nagy's coaching numbers, is Mitch executing the offense to its full potential? If you put a good quarterback in there, does that offense all of a sudden become a lot more explosive?
I think so. I honestly do think so. I really do feel that this is the best offense I've seen as far as creativeness and just the way they do things. And, we've seen them throw a touchdown to one of the offensive linemen. I mean, the potential's there, but like you said, without a competent quarterback to be able to read the defenses and see the open target, the offense is only as good as the quarterback is. So it's one of those things where it could be that Mitch Trubisky is really holding the Bears offense back.
And I also, to kind of build on another point, I think it's also the lack of running. I think it's the lack of the running game. I think they're missing Jordan Howard a little bit. Personally, as an Eagles fan, he was, I get to see. No, he's not the most explosive runner out there, but he is that thumper. He can grind it up the middle, get you those 2-3 yards, get up that third down conversion percentage. Is Montgomery, do you think David Montgomery is going to be that guy?
Yeah, I definitely do think that David Montgomery is that guy, and he can. Coming out of Iowa State, we knew that he loves contact, and he really fits the city very well. He really does. He embodies Chicago, and I could see the city getting behind him. He's a bruiser. He's a quiet, humble, strong-willed kid, and he definitely embodies the city. And I look forward to seeing him get more rushing attempts. And if Nagy can get it together and give the kid 25 touches, get out of this committee BS that he's had us in. Cohen, throw a screen to him. It's not that complicated. same thing we do in Madden or anything. You know, they like to blitz pressure. You get rid of the ball. What better weapon do you have than Tyreek Cohen in the flat?
Well, one last point I want to make is in regards to Matt Nagy and Mitch Trubisky. Trubisky was drafted from a former coaching regime, and he is not the quarterback that Nagy had or wanted maybe coming in to execute his offense. Do you think Nagy may look to draft a guy to run his offense? Do you think they need to sign that veteran quarterback instead? I mean, how would you attack that if you were the GM looking from the outside in?
I think I would do both of those things you mentioned, honestly. I would have somebody that can step in there now, but also use that backup veteran leadership to groom a guy that you draft now for the future. So let's say Nagy, with the 5th round pick, decides to go for a quarterback that he believes in. He brings in a good backup, like you mentioned, Phillip Rivers, Derek Carr, Andy Dalton, guys with
I don't think those guys are going to be backup. I think those guys would beat out Trubisky right now for starter.
Exactly, but that's why you want one of those guys that's going to push Trubisky but can also help groom the next generation. So I would do both. I would bring in a guy that can step in there and also draft the quarterback of the future that Nagy sees fit in his scheme better.
I certainly think that they're only a few pieces away from getting back to that title contention like they were in 2018.
Absolutely. We're not too far apart. The Bears defense last year was still, 8th in the league. So it's one of those things we don't want to be all gloom and doom, but we have to be realistic and look at ourselves in the mirror and just say things aren't going smoothly.
Well, for one thing's for sure, the defense ranked 8th in the league last year. They have not really regressed at all. You have a lot of key pieces in place there. If that offense gets going again, I think they're going to be unstoppable. All right, and that's going to do it for today's No Pro Sports topic. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and leave a like. Also, please leave a comment in the video below and let us know what you liked or didn't like about the video, and also give us some ideas for some future topics that you'd like us to discuss. No Pro Sports signing out.